Hello and welcome to the Hugh Hattrick Show with our F1 testing report from the first week of Bahrain. Now, I'm recording this on Tuesday, the 17th of February. So we've already had the first week. It ended on Friday and they're just about to start the second week tomorrow. But there's been lots of news, not just from that test, but over the weekend as well, because there's quite a lot of driver concerns at the way the cars are set up. And I thought it'd be good to go over not only the results of last week, but those concerns that the drivers have and what do you think about them. So let me know in the comments and add a like as well if you're seeing this on YouTube or on Podbean or any of the other platforms. But welcome along to the Hugh Hattrick Show. I do hope you're well and having a fantastic week. Well, we are nudging closer and closer to the Formula One season starting on the 6th of March. That's when practice and then qualifying on the 7th, and then of course the race in in Melbourne, of course, Melbourne, in the early hours of the 8th of March. So it's not far away at all. In fact, really just about 2 weeks on Sunday, if I get my maths correct there. So it's not far away, and the new cars have been out and showing us what they are like. So let's have a look at some of the results to give you an idea of what has been happening. Right, so here we have, I'll scroll down here, our results of the testing so far. Now, the person who completed the fastest lap so far was the Mercedes driver Kimi Antonelli, and he set a time of 1:33.669. Followed by George Russell, his teammate, also in the Mercedes, of a 1:33.918. And then Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari, a 1:34.209. Then Charles Leclerc, a 1:34.273. Then we had the two McLarens of Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, also in the 34s, just a couple of tenths away. And Max Verstappen in the Red Bull with a 1:34.798. Now, a lot of the time people say that you can't take these testing times into too much consideration because they weren't really set up for like race simulation. They were just still in the early part of testing. Now that may be true, but they are still wanting to be competitive, and there is a lot of kind of limelight taken to the cars that are fastest at the end of the session. So it's interesting to see that the Mercedes, which has kind of lived up to its reputation, because many commentators in the Formula One paddock were saying that the Mercedes probably would have an early lead with the new regulations because they've been at it for a long time and they were very good in the early years of the new regulations back in 2014. In fact, they had a very dominant performance with Lewis Hamilton and also Nico Rosberg at the time. But it gives us encouragement to see Lewis Hamilton, who still looking out for his 8th World Championship, is right up there, just a few tenths away from the Mercedes. And he also looked quite optimistic. I think maybe there's a bit of a kind of flare in Lewis's step when we looked at some of the interviews that were held last week. So if you're a Ferrari fan, then hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll be thinking maybe we could actually do something this year. And I wonder what the odds would be on Lewis Hamilton taking his 8th World title. You never know, because it's new regulations, and if Ferrari have pulled a cracker on that engine, then maybe it might just get them there. But as we can see, that Max Verstappen isn't far away as well. Now, at first there were two major quotes that Max had made, one of which was saying this is like Formula E on steroids, but secondly saying that the Red Bull is actually very good and has made a lot of progress, and he is quite confident of doing quite well in the season. Now, obviously that we'll have to see how they get on in terms of when they start on March the 8th. But if Max is confident, then that should surely terrify the rest of the drivers on the grid, because he's been so competitive over the last few years and really only lost the championship by a couple of points last year, and really one more race and he probably would have clinched it. He was doing that well. The McLarens, well, they seem to say that they are there or thereabouts. They're not so sure about reliability. However, they have done very quick testing times as well. And this week, as they go into week 2 of testing at Bahrain, I think we're going to start to see the real pace of the cars, because now they have to do race simulation setups and obviously qualifying as well. So when we have a chance to see those drivers that are going out to commit a really, really fast lap. One of the other quotes that I had read as well, was they reckoned there could be anywhere between 4 to 6 seconds between the entire grid because there's such a gap in performance. Plus, we have new teams like Cadillac and Audi who have taken over Sauber. Although Audi seems to be doing okay, and Cadillac as well didn't seem to be too far away in terms of the overall times. But if you look at the dates, you can see there from a 34 to a 37, and that was in the Racing Bulls. So there's quite a bit of time there. Cadillac's in the 36s, so they've got a bit of work to do. But it's a big spread over the field, and that's never great for racing because that just means that throughout a race they could be lapped 2 or 3 times. In the last year, maybe cars got lapped once, but that was probably about it. And in some cases, there was less than a second, or maybe just up to about a second, covering the entire field. It was that competitive. And we don't want to see cars so far away that they've got no chance of scoring points and things like that. But hopefully, we'll have to see how it goes on the 8th of March, if that will be the reason. But there's another big concern that they have, and this is on the race starts. Now, there was quite a few shots of cars kind of spinning off the track when they let the clutches out to do a practice start. And quite a lot of drivers have been concerned about this. Lewis Hamilton is one in particular who said that we need to really look at this. The FIA needs to look at the practice starts or the start system because the cars are really struggling to get the power down. And if the tyres are just kind of screeching away and have no grip, then it's quite likely that they could end up spinning off and having an accident. And you don't want to have cars at the back end of the field coming through very quickly and hitting a car when it's at the front of the grid because it's not been able to get out of the way, because the start is one of the most dangerous parts of Formula One. So I'm hoping, and I think as most of us will, that they will actually do something about that, make sure that the starts can be done safely and that the cars can put their power down as they set off, because the starts are great to watch, but we want them to be good. We want them to be safe. We don't want the drivers having undue risk. But let me know in the comments what you think about testing and also about these new cars. Now, I have to admit, I think they look pretty good. I do love the way that they actually look in terms of they're a bit smaller, and the nose cones are nice. The tyres aren't as wide. So if we look here, we can see the Ferrari there, which does look rather nice. Seemingly not all of the cars have their numbers and their names on the back there, where they should have. But it's an amazing. I think they do look rather good because they were getting a bit big. So it's nice to have the car more as what you would imagine a Formula One car to look like. Now, McLaren, they did over 422 laps, and their fastest lap was the 1 minute 34.5. And like many of the main teams, they did get a lot of laps done. So I think the top teams that we know about, that we're very familiar with, are certainly doing well, and I think they'll be near the top. What's going to be interesting is the other teams, the ones like Racing Bulls, Aston Martin. That may be an Adrian Newey designed car, but it's still quite a bit away. It's got that Honda engine, and Honda admitted that they are running behind and they are playing catch up. Now, if anyone wants to remember what it was like to have a Honda engine, then Alonso can remember that from being at McLaren in the mid 2000s and 10s, when, of course, McLaren had the Honda and he was miles away, and he said this is like an F2 or GP2 engine, his famous phrase. Let's hope he doesn't have to go through that again, because I think that will demoralise him and he'll be out the door as quick as he can. But no, it looks like there are some big variations in the smaller teams, but maybe they'll have a chance to catch up and see how it all goes. So what do you think is going to happen tomorrow? Who do you think is going to be on top? My idea is that I think Mercedes will continue to be very strong. I think Red Bull might be will be quite quick as well. But I also think that the Ferraris, if they have got a good engine and a good package there, and they can refine that, just maybe it might be worth putting a little punt on Lewis or Charles Leclerc to go up there for the title. And wouldn't it be amazing to see the Ferraris battle at the front of the field with Mercedes, with McLaren, with Red Bull, and to see them really get their handbags out, you could say, and making sure that they know who is going to be going for the title. But it's going to be interesting. Now, we are going to have a Formula One testing live stream. This is, of course, just a video that we'll put out on YouTube and on Podbean. And I will have my good friend Andrew Marr and also Simon Jerry alongside me. It may well be that the first one is with Simon Jerry because I know Rue is getting an operation on his eye, so he will be recovering from that for the next week or two. But we'll be back well before the start of the season, and we'll make sure that there's a live stream that you can join in. You can leave your comments, add a like, and if you love F1 news, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll always be able to keep up to date with our live streams and content. So that's all from me today. Drive fast, don't crash, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye just now. No.